Well, good afternoon and welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz. That's right, afternoon tea today. And in the house, I have the beautiful, inspiring, motivating, resilient woman of the year. That is right. I have Shirin Ariff in the studio. And she is truly an amazing woman. And we've been trying to connect like this for a long, long time. So this is our time to connect. So I got to know Shirin during the Global Peace Challenge 2020. She was also the Global Peace Ambassador. But I'm going to get into who Shirin is, and then I'm going to get her to share her amazing story with all of you. And we're going to have some inspiration today on Tea Time. So grab your cups, coffee, tea, water, juice, and join us. Leave your comments in the comment section. And if you're watching a replay, put replay. But please share with us, because we'd love to have you join us for a cup of tea today. So Shirin is an inspirational speaker with over 3 million global views of her virtual video, an award-winning 5-time international best-selling author and resilient coach, and a proud mother of 4 beautiful children. My tongue, I need tea. Lovingly called the gentle force, Shirin offers transformational education to victims of any kind of abuse through her Be Your Own North Star. And I love that because I'm from the North, so we'll get into the North Star a little bit more.
Sure.
It has a program. She has been there, done that, her own story of dramatic ups and downs, and her remarkable journey of resilience, which involves coming to Canada, enduring a dysfunctional marriage, struggling with facial paralysis, and surviving cancer, inspires others with wisdom and strength. And if you'd like to know more on Shirin, please check out Miss Liz's Tea Time page and all of the other platforms that I have her listed. Her full bio is there. So Shirin, welcome to Tea Time. It is amazing to see your beautiful face, girl. So could you share a little bit on the backstory and then get into where it all took you today?
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank you so much, Liz, for having me on your show. I really love the idea of bonding over a cup of tea, especially because I come from India and tea is a big thing in India. I mean, it's bonding time for the family, bonding time with people who come to visit you. We offer tea. And it's interesting that my mom always said I made the worst tea.
And here you are on Tea Time.
Yes. And, you know, however, as I said, I was born and raised in India. And, now as I'm recollecting tea time in India, I'd like to share a little bit about my past. I was born and raised in India in a traditional family. We called it the joint family because joint family in India, the term joint means all your extended family and your own immediate family. Everyone lives together in one huge mansion. And it's crazy and it's lovely and it's chaotic all at the same time. But that had a blessing. I grew up being with people. I grew up learning to put up with people. I also grew up learning to love them as they are, because they're family and you have to put up with their idiosyncrasies. So the adjustment, listening to all the elders deciding and choosing for you, and, having 30 cousins to play with every day. We were like a whole school in, a whole school in the house. So, yes, and my childhood was fun, exciting. I went to a very good school and I learned to study, read, and write in English. And in fact, I'm one of the first girls to go to university in my generation. So and complete it. There were some who went to university, but they had to be married. And so I did all the bad things apparently because I wasn't that good girl who got married as soon as she became an adult. And her job was to get married, keep her husband happy, and raise kids. That's it. Cook in the house, cook clean, and do that. And although that's it, is not that's it, because that's what I also do, and it's a lot of work. And so I was in I was in high school when I got engaged. I was 18. My parents had, you know, they had good plans for me, that they thought they'd have me happily ever married, and be lead a great life, be with a good person. They chose well for me. The person was educated. He was a computer software engineer. In those days, that was a very big deal. However, what we didn't know, even though he was the only son, his entire family was very respectful, and so was he. But he had a problem with drugs. And so, a girl who was raised to understand that it is not right for girls to be with boys. A
Yep.
girl who went to an all girls school. She even did her university in an all girls college, all my degrees there. And then she's married to a man. So I was so naive and I didn't know so many things that it was very easy for me to not know that my first husband was doing drugs. And then nobody did drugs in my family. And we didn't have that kind of information. We were not taught about drugs in school. It was taboo, it was shameful. You know, people in India in those days looked down on people who took drugs and thought that was a very bad thing to do. So he was doing drugs, and obviously, like, to cut a long story short, his addiction kept growing until he couldn't hide it anymore. His job was impacted. He lost his job. He sold everything in the family, all the furniture and everything, and we ended up becoming homeless because nobody wanted us. We had exhausted the list of help that we could get from our family members in terms of money, in terms of many other things. And he did go to rehab several times, but he came back and did the same thing again, and with greater fervor. And so I had a daughter. By then, we were married for 8 years. And I discovered I really learned that he was actually doing drugs and what drug addiction is after I had my daughter. And then I went and educated myself and found out, okay, there's something called the rehab center. How can I support him? I went for all the meetings to educate myself. But by then it was too late, and he didn't want to leave drugs. So eventually, he was sick and he had TB of the spine, and he was being tested for AIDS and all of that. And my in laws, excuse me, my throat is a little bit dry. And then I was being sent back, like periodically, I kept being sent back to my parents' house. And in my family, there's not been a divorce before me. So it was a shameful thing because I lived in a family where there were so many people. There was so much gossip. It's always the girl's fault. She must have done something wrong. Why is her marriage falling apart? Why is she being sent by her in-laws, and why is she living with her parents for so many months? And then eventually, we had to drop the bomb that my first husband was doing drugs, and then I went through the divorce. I was at home for 4 years, and my father was my biggest support, and he
Okay.
sent me back to school. He encouraged me to go back to school and, like, pick up my life. He said, you have a daughter, you have to be there for her. And while my father was my support, but it's unfortunate, but most of the women in the family were the ones who were doing all the gossip, and and speaking ill of me, and my calling my daughter unlucky and all of that. And um, and anyone who came forward to show compassion basically wanted to know what's the inside scoop, what's going on. Like, so anyways, I went back to school and I already had a degree, a bachelor of arts, and I had done my major in English. So I went back and did my B.Ed, and before I got my degree, I had a job because I did outstandingly well. And my school that I grew up in was very, very supportive. I went to a Catholic school, Loreto, and the Loreto sisters, they're always there to support the girls. So I was absorbed into the Loreto family. I started teaching, and my daughter went to the same school. Everything was going fine. And I was just 28 years old, and my mom was very concerned that me being a divorced woman, staying at home with so much gossip, it would be very difficult for my sister to get married, my younger sister. She was of the age when she should be married. And so my mother was worried that, I'm so young, I have a whole life ahead of me, I should be married again. And then, the pressure of getting remarried started. And then I had a lot of suitors, but nobody wanted my daughter. They were
Okay.
like,
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, Shirin. Like in
yes.
India, are they like, do they have them already pre-selected for marriage? Like, how does that work?
So but the parents, well, now things have changed a lot, but
Hmm.
back then, in the 1990s, when I was growing up, the parents had a lot of say.
Okay.
They call something as an arranged marriage.
Yeah.
So the fun bit is that I wouldn't really call my when he used to come to our house, his dad and my like my dad and his dad had knew some common people, common friends, and then he did come to my house to tutor me, and he fell in love with me. So because there was so much taboo in my house that I wasn't allowed to speak to boys, I was in deep trouble if he expressed his love for me. So I had to go and tell my mother that this man is saying this to me. And I did, because I didn't want to be beaten up. In India in those days, the best way to, correct a child was beat them up. So so I did tell my mother about it, that this person is, at that time I had no feelings for him, and I said this person is saying he likes me. And so my mom said, okay, he's the only son, he's a computer software engineer, that sounds like a good match, you will be very happy. So ask him if he will marry you. And I'm just a young 16-year-old girl. What do I know? So ask him if he will marry you. And if he is serious, he will stay on. If he is not serious, he will go.
Yeah.
He will be scared and he'll go. And he stayed.
So you got
And
married
then
at 16, Shirin?
no, I was engaged at 18 because
Oh, okay.
I insisted on being educated, and I'm
Okay.
so grateful that I chose that, and I was stubborn, and my mom was very upset. She felt like, what's the point of going to university if you will get married and have kids and you're not supposed to go and work somewhere? But good girls from good homes don't work. They're
But you're
not
the rebel,
independent.
right?
Yes,
You're the woman that says, no, it's not happening this way. I'm gonna just do it
yes.
this way. And I like
Well,
that about you because you're resilient, right? And I think
yes,
that's where the resilience comes
yes.
from.
Yes. So I'm not like, well, in my own family with the women, the older generation, I was the bad girl. Like I was corrupt because I went to university. I was bad because I was the first one who chose to be divorced. Like you
Yeah.
stick with your man and you stay with
Oh,
him until till you die. That kind
I
of
know
like
that all too well. Stand by your
then
man.
yes, and then you're a saint, then you're Saint Shireen. So I wasn't any of that, and I think I'm glad that I wasn't. So I don't know what my life would be, and what anybody else's life would be, and what my daughter's life would be. What would she learn from my life? So anyways, I was at my parents' place for 4 years teaching, and then this man comes from Canada. His sister is married in our family to my dad's second cousin, and he's like, there's a family wedding, and he's attending that. And in the meantime, my mom has put an ad for me, which is so embarrassing to share. She put an ad for me on a matrimonial website.
Wow. Who
Okay,
was the
because
rebel there?
because she wants me married and out of the house, and the men in India don't want a girl child, like they don't want to adopt my daughter, so they want me to give up my daughter. So at first my mom tried to convince me to give up my daughter and give her away to my in-laws. and I refused. And so there was a war at home, and my mom was, she never listens to me. I'm giving her good advice, and her daughter will be happy with the in-laws, and she will have a married life. But I wouldn't give up my daughter for anything in the world. I didn't care. I wasn't really interested in getting married. However, under mom's pressure, there were a lot of responses to my matrimonial ad. And one of the men was from Canada.
Okay.
Okay, but I didn't end up marrying him. So one of the men was from Canada. He responded. He was on separation. He was very honest. He was very lovely. And he said that, he has two kids from his wife. They had a fight and they're on separation. She wants a divorce. He's regretful about the things he did and said, and he would want her to come back. And he's lonely. So he's not committing to a marriage, but wanting friendship. And he said, if she comes back, I'd rather have her because I'll have my children and I'll have my wife back. And I really appreciated his honesty. And it was the first time like I was having deep conversations with a man, who's being vulnerable and saying how he loves his wife and his family and how he's the one who messed up. And, and I appreciated his authenticity. So and that was one way of keeping my mother, like bluffing my mom that, hey, I'm talking
There's
to
a
a
rebel
man.
again.
Yes, I'm talking to this man. Yeah, something is cooking, but nothing is cooking. So it'll keep her busy. I'm like, okay, this man didn't say marry me. So what do I do? Like, we have to wait. That kind of thing. So,
I
so
never pictured you as a rebel. Never, ever, ever.
that's
But I
why
think
they call
that's where
me.
resilience comes from, right? The rebel
Yes,
has the resilience of keep going, right? So,
yes. And so, eventually he did go through a divorce, and then he he still said, I would want to come to Canada because I've lived in Canada for so many years. I can't just see someone over a camera and do video chatting and say, yes, let's get married. We need to get to know each other. So he was telling me like, I'll invite you, come visit Canada with your daughter. But he was lovely. In the meantime, all these aunts that I had, one of them gave my mom an idea that, you know, that there is a man here in Canada who is related to my other aunt. And how about I give information about this lovely man to this man and ask him to find out whether this guy was authentic or not, whether he really lived where he lived, and all of that, like just to investigate. That's where this investigator man ended up becoming my second husband.
oh, now we're getting into a juicy story here. The
Yes, yes.
investigator. Hmm.
Yes. So this man, like, he's not a professional investigator, but just to find out whether this man was really divorced or not. So this man was an immigration consultant, and so I had a conversation with him. He asked for all the details of the man I was interested in, and then he called back and told us it's a no-no. Lots of red flags. The man was in prison. He had beaten his first wife, and so you don't want to end up in Canada and be in that mess
Yeah.
and all. And as I look back, most probably all that wasn't true because this man had interest in me. So he started talking and he started saying that, why do you want to come here being already married to someone? You could come independently, you're educated, you're a teacher, you can come here as a qualified teacher and, hold your grounds here, become a Canadian, and then think of who you want to get married to. So that sounded better for me because I wasn't interested in getting married. So he spoke to my parents too, and I wasn't really keen on coming to Canada. I didn't have anybody here,
Well, look
right?
at you now. You're here.
Yes, well, I've been here 16 years now. I wouldn't want to go back. so, so, so now the thing is that this person, he said, I'll help you immigrate here. And, and I didn't want any favors from anybody. And his sisters found my dad were in court. They were fighting over property matters. So the women would talk, the men would fight. It was a crazy scenario.
Yeah.
So I didn't want any more chaos. And so, I gave him all my information and asked him how much would it cost. And he said, X amount of thousands of dollars. And I said, thank you very much. Goodbye. This is not happening because I didn't have any money. Already my father had sponsored my education. We were staying in my house because there's no government support in India for women who are divorced and living single. There's nothing like Toronto housing or social services or anything like that. So I had to live at my parents' house. They were paying for our living expenses, for my daughter and me. And then my dad was paying for my daughter's schooling, for my schooling. And I had just got a job. And then eventually I told him up front, it's always good to be transparent. I told him I don't have the money. I'm sorry, I can't pay you. And I don't feel any urgency of going to Canada at all. And especially with this man, if the man that I liked is not a good idea to be with. So what's the point? I don't want to be in Canada. At least I have my dad here. And, that's when he said that he used to visit my home when he was younger, and he saw me when I was a teenager. He was in love with me for the longest time, for many, many years. But then he had an arranged marriage. His parents got him married, and at that time he was financially not stable for to ask for my hand. But now he says God sent me back in his life in this crazy way. So he doesn't want to let go of this opportunity. And he said he wanted me in his life and he really loved me. So when I heard that, the first thing I thought, jerk. The jerk. He's trying, yes, he's trying to take a,
Use the
he's trying,
rebel.
yes, he's trying to take advantage of my situation and
Yeah.
telling all these stories of love and all that. So I stopped talking to him. And when I didn't have a cell phone in those days, I couldn't afford many things. So a landline at my dad's place, and he started calling frantically, like so many times, and I wouldn't take his call. Then my dad felt something was not right, that I wasn't answering his call, and my dad asked me, why are you not answering his call? I thought you were doing some paperwork. And I said no. And I was close to my dad. I wouldn't tell my mom about it, but I told my dad that this man, I called him uncle because his sister is married to my dad's cousin, and he's saying he loves me. And my dad burst out laughing and he's like, that's my daughter. Everybody loves her.
Oh,
you
it's
know.
true. Everybody loves you, right?
Uh,
But
so
not
thank
not
you.
that way.
Yes. And so, he laughed and he said, don't run away from him. Face him and tell him a no. If you don't want to get married to him, don't run away. Just tell him no. So I called him and I told him, no, thank you very much. I'm not into getting married to you or anything. And he said, I don't really care. I'm coming. I'm coming to get married to you. If you don't marry me, I'll go marry. He joked and he said, I'll go marry your dad.
Well, you loved your dad
Okay.
too.
Yes. And then, he called up my dad and he said, I'm asking for your daughter's hand. I really love her and I'm begging for her. I'm going down on my knees. And my dad was a little bit, like he paused and he thought that, okay, the man lives in Canada. He has all the money in the world. He can get any woman he wants. He's coming all the way to asking for my daughter's hand. He must really love her. And in India, it's a big deal. Like you're divorced, you're the mother of a child, and for a man to accept, because my parents faced the real truth that people didn't want my daughter. So my father said, I'm getting old, and your mom is not very nice to you. So why don't you consider getting married to this man, because your daughter will have a better life. Think about her if you go to Canada. And so to cut a long story short, my second husband was very persistent, and he came to India. He blew me away with how romantic he was and all the things that he did, and his expressions of love, and singing to me, and like I was very romantic as a person. So all of that, like, and then I was so deprived of all of that from my first marriage, because my first husband was doing drugs and he was not there. He was just physically there, but zoned out most of the time. So as a young woman, she just blew me away. My second husband blew me away. he didn't have any addiction. He was normal, he was healthy. And, I felt like, okay, this is what love is all about. This is how a man loves a woman. And, I gave in and I said, okay, I said yes to him. He was 12 years older than me. And we didn't, there were so many differences about so many things, about our interests and our likes and dislikes. But, at that time, maybe I was so starved of, the love from a partner
Yeah.
that I gave in. And then, he got married to me in India. And then I was waiting for my visa while he came back here, but I didn't have custody of my child. So my visa took 2 years to come through. I had to go back in court and get custody of my child. My first husband had gone missing. He was doing drugs and he was not in his senses. Nobody knew where he was. So the court had to wait for him to show up. And then he didn't show up at all. And then, our lives were on hold. Then the judge gave me full custody of the child and allowed me to take her out of the country. And then when I came here, for the 2 years, all the promises that my second husband made over the phone, because I don't know what's the lifestyle in Canada, what do you have in a home, what you don't have, all of that. Like he used to tell me, I'm making a nice house for you, and today I bought this and I decorated that. And then when I came here, I was in a very, like, not a very, like, it was a little bit of a rough neighborhood.
Okay.
It was in Parkdale, and there's a prostitute standing at the door. I'd never seen something like that before when I was in India. And I mean, I was scared. And then he takes me upstairs to this apartment. There is no furniture. There's a mattress on the floor. There's not even a bed sheet on that mattress. And
Wow.
nothing has been done up. And all this, he was all, for all this time, he was telling me on the phone that, he's got this house by the lake and it's beautiful and all of that. And yes, well, Lakeshore is not too far from Parkdale, but
Mm,
on the lake, and it's not like the houses that now I understand what it would look like.
yeah.
So I didn't know what to expect then. And so I was a little bit uncomfortable when I went there. And he dropped us at the airport. It was evening, late evening. He dropped us and then he said, I got to go and I'll come back tomorrow morning. So the man who was expressing so much love, and in the 2 years that I lived in India, he flew down 7 times just to be with me. That man, it was very unusual of him to not want to be with me on the very first day of me landing here. So that
Yeah.
felt like a red flag, but I was very, I wasn't bold, and I was so new here. I didn't want to ask him, hey, where are you going? What are you doing? And he was like, oh, in Canada, sometimes people do night jobs and people do 2 jobs, and welcome to this busy world. And it's very different from India. And I thought maybe, because I was new and I was shy, I thought, okay, I shouldn't be asking him too many questions. I have to be a good wife. Good wives don't ask too many questions. You're
Mhm.
obedient, and you just adjust and you be nice to him. And I was so grateful that he accepted my daughter compared to all the other men in India who didn't. So, I was grateful he accepted my daughter. And so I just sealed my lips and I said, okay, I'm not going to ask him any questions. Complete trust.
Yeah.
And then, we started living like that. And then every weekend he goes away, every evening he goes away, every holiday he goes away. He's here with me all day. We're working together. He's taught me how to do immigration work. And I was a quick learner. And so I learned how to do, filling out the forms, like adding all the clauses and and writing a submission letter and all of that. I was very good in English. I did all of that I learned it up very well. And so slowly, he started leaning more and more of his business on my shoulders. And he was free. And I was doing most of the work. And then, but he collected all the money from his clients.
Yeah.
And then, yes, he was the immigration consultant who was educated in this. So that was his expertise. So when he had to represent a client in court and all that, he did that. I didn't. But if he told me to fill out forms and write letters, I was good with that. So things went on. And then, as in 3 months, I was a little bit stressed and I didn't know where this was going. And I started getting bored. We didn't even have a TV at home.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I was like totally cut off from the whole world. I didn't know anybody. I was scared to talk to neighbors. He would leave me alone. And, it's a new culture.
Yeah.
In India, you have Indians, at least we speak the same language and like,
Yeah, it's a culture
what,
shock.
but in Canada it's like a global population. You
Yeah.
have people from all over the world. So I didn't know whom to talk to and what to say. And then he gave me a cell phone, like how you give cell phones to your teenage kids. It's a flip phone. And you can call only three numbers: your mommy, your daddy, and one more person. I had that kind of a phone.
The
you
rebel had
know
a flip phone.
yes, I had a flip phone and I could only call him. And so, I'm totally disconnected now from everybody. So I rely on him for everything. He doesn't give me any money. I get the grocery that he buys, like he makes all the decisions. And I was coming from India. I just surrendered to all of that. And then slowly, that was not me, because if I'm a rebel, I want to like pop my head out of the ground
There
and
we go.
see,
There's the rebels. He's
see,
back.
yes, what's going on. So I started telling him, hey, like we had a different life in India, even though I went through so much. We went to restaurants. I took my kids every weekend to, a gaming arcade or watch a movie or go somewhere, like meet relatives. I'm doing nothing here. So, why don't you like come stay with me in the weekend, and like we go somewhere. And he says, that's when I start asking him questions, and that's when he gets upset and he starts putting his foot down and he starts saying, you're being disobedient and you're not being a nice woman. You can't trouble me. I brought you here and you have to be grateful about it. People do what not to get to Canada. And you're lucky. It was so easy for you, so don't question me.
Wow.
And then that became an aggressive tone, because I kept being like, after I would be quiet for a few days and I would start all over again. Hey, I want more freedom. I want more freedom. I want to be with you. And where do you go? I need to know more. And then, within 3 months, with all that stress, I had paralysis on the face out of the blue. The right side of my face was paralyzed. My tongue was hanging and drooling, and my right eye wouldn't close. I would have to glue my eyes to sleep. And so, the doctor said I had something called Bell's palsy. It was a bad
Yeah.
bout of Bell's palsy. And then, he started calling me ugly, and making me feel that something is wrong with me, which is why he's not treating me right. So, I don't deserve it. Now I'm ugly. So I don't deserve his love. I don't deserve his time. And so I'm ugly. And what did my parents give for dowry? I was a divorced woman with a child. I should be grateful, as if like that was a baggage and something was wrong with me, that like, everything was wrong with me. And then, one day we got into an argument and he calls up my father and says, take your daughter away. I don't want her anymore.
Wow.
And so I know I can't go back anymore. My first divorce was enough. My mom was really hard on me the first time. I was living out of plastic bags, sleeping on the floor, because mom thought if I was comfortable, if she made me comfortable,
Yeah,
I
I
would
seen
live
that in
on.
one of the programs that you did,
Yes,
Shireen. You had
yes,
shared that about the plastic
yes.
bag and that.
Yes. So, what do I do? And so
Yeah.
I had to like kind of kill my voice in my throat, because he's going to tell my parents, take her back. I can't go back. So then I had to put up with what he was doing. And that was so not me. And I put up with it and I put up with it. And then for 2 years, I didn't get pregnant. Then he started saying, I'm half Jewish, half Muslim. So, in us, children are a blessing in our culture. So you don't have kids. Now you're evil and God doesn't love you. So I'm paralyzed. I was divorced. I have a child. Everything is wrong with me, and I'm not getting kids. So, well, we saw the doctor, and the doctor said that maybe, like you're stressed about it. That's why you're not having kids. There's nothing wrong with you. So then eventually I got pregnant. And I thought, okay, now life is going to change. And my dad said, oh, things would be, I wouldn't tell my dad every detail, but tell him a few things that things are not working here. I'm worried. And my dad said, maybe, you'll bond because now you have kids. And of course, my life has to be like a roller coaster ride. And, now I know I was so upset. And then suddenly I get the news I'm having twins. And that is like, wow, like from being paralyzed, now I have this great news that I'm having twins. And I thought my life will change, but it only kept getting worse. He started getting bitter and he started becoming verbally abusive once I had kids. And he started, just taunting me and telling me, you're swearing at my dad, my mom, my sister, everybody, and all kinds of, filthy verbal abuse. And I started, like, because I kept taking it, I became sick. And then eventually, like, I didn't want to live. I used to be very disgusted, as if I was a burden. I was ugly. I had to go. Nobody loves me. Nobody wants me. Like, I can't be with my parents. This man is treating me badly. Who wants me? Nobody wants me. And because I was so cut off from the rest of the world and all that I was going through, I had school friends here. I didn't even connect with them. I didn't want anybody to know what was going on in my life. It was shameful. And then, so I had cancer. I ended up having thyroid cancer. Um, and, before that, I was hoping I'd die. And then when I had cancer, that's when reality hit hard. And I realized, if I have cancer and if I were to die, who's going to look after my kids? He was not interested in the kids. He was not spending time with them. And he was so busy. And then I discovered that even though he was divorced, he was still keeping a relationship with his first wife. He said he had kids, so he had to talk to her, but he was actually having a relationship with his first wife. And the year I had twins, he had a kid from her. So he was with her and he was with me. Even though I was his wife legally, he was still in a relationship with her. And it was a mess. And then with cancer and this information hitting me hard, it was a lot to process. And I was crumbling under all of that. And so I reached out to his family and I asked his older brother and all his other family members, what do we do? And I reached out to his first wife and I said, let's have a conversation, let's talk about it. And then he hated that because he wanted to keep it all undercover. And then I busted everything. I call his wife, his first wife, I call his family members and I'm like, let's talk about it, what's going on. So
there's that rebel again. She's back.
yes. And so
I love that about you, Shirin. I really love that about you because that really shows the real true resilience, right? Is when you have enough of the shit sandwich, you say it's enough and you move on, right? And that's where the resilience comes in. And I want to get into we have comments coming in from all different places because I'm
I don't see any comments.
They're coming in different locations. Okay, I'm streaming on multiple places, and
yes,
I have a friend who is saying that, well, while you're sharing, it's almost like you're sharing her story. And a lot of people who have gone through domestic violence and abuse, when we're sharing our stories like this, it does feel like you're telling our story because there's similarities, right? There's the name calling. There's they start off honeymoon section and then they go to the freaking demon section. It's like, I thought you loved me. Now you hate me. Like, how did that happen? So I really want to thank the viewers that are watching and that are leaving their comments like that and expressing that you sharing your story and that it makes us feel like we're not alone, right?
Absolutely. I've had that. Yes, I've had a lot of people, a lot of women particularly, actually reach out to me and tell me that they've been through similar things. Yeah. And what was interesting was the man knew the law in this country that you cannot raise your hand. If you raise your hand, you'll be arrested. There's a law in place. So they mentally abuse you. They emotionally abuse you. They verbally, financially abuse you. And so you don't see the scars, but the scars are deep and sometimes they destroy people.
They do.
It took a lot of work and I still do work on myself
You
to,
have to, right? A lot of people say
yes,
like, "Oh, you got into the situation, you're all better now." No, we still have to heal ourselves. They broke us
yes,
bit by bit by bit by bit,
yes,
and we
yes,
have to heal ourselves each and every day for the rest of our lives because they've
yes,
actually torn us down. And
yes,
and that's what I really love about your story and what you've done with your life, Shireen, from
yes,
the situation. Like if anybody
yes.
out there, the viewers that are watching now and the viewers that will watch on the replay, you really need to check this woman out because this woman has an empowering story. She is the true resilient coach out there. She has overcome so much. Shireen, I am
Thank
very
you.
proud of you, and I'm
Thank you.
actually honored to get to meet you face to face. Now, we've talked on the phone a couple of times and we've connected through the Global Peace Challenge, but I really want to understand what makes you the North Star. Where did you get the North Star from?
Yes. So, when I had cancer, in my book, one of the chapters is called "Cancer is the Cure." So that's when, like, I was in the thick of darkness. I didn't know my way. Cancer was like a dead end for me. And my cancer, I had thyroid cancer, which is the easiest to cure, but it had metastasized to my lymph nodes. And so I didn't know what holds for me. And that's kind of like a dead end for me. And when I went for my surgery, so that's a moment of darkness because I don't know what holds for me. That's when I saw my North Star. That's when you have to be in the dark to see your North Star. That's the gift of being in darkness. I found my North Star. And then when I found what my North Star was, I found my why. Why, like earlier, I used to feel like my life is worthless. I don't need to live. Then I started questioning, why do I need to live? And then I found my why. I need to live for my kids. I need to give them a different narrative for their lives. They are seeing me. They will do the same thing as me because they'll think that's the way you do life. My mom did it that way.
Yeah.
And I didn't want any of my kids to have the life that I went through. And even if life throws things at them, I didn't want them to end up their lives in a miserable way. So I thought, as a responsible parent, I wanted one chance from God, that give me one chance. I'm going to turn everything around for my kids and show them, if life throws things at you, look for the North Star, not just stop there, be your own North Star.
I love it. I
When
really love
there's
it.
no one around you, actually nobody can tell you what to do. People will tell you, but in the end, you have to choose what you want to do in your
Exactly.
life. And so when I was going for my surgery, there was no one there on the operation theater. I walked to the hospital. It was a block away from home. I didn't have my ex-husband with me to support me in any way. I was doing my separation and cancer together. And so I was like, okay, what could be worse? What can be more frightful than death? So I used to be very afraid of him. Then I thought, okay, when I experienced the fear of death, I said, you know what? This is nothing. I am going to turn around and face this man. So I turned around in life and I faced him and I filed for divorce. He told me, like, you have cancer. If you go to court, I'm going to drag this case forever
Wow.
till you're dead. He did drag it for 5 years, but I got my divorce. I got my children's rights. And and now my kids, when they have to write an essay, who's my role model? My daughter in school makes a poster that's my mom, and they're so proud of me. So it's not an ego trip. It's just that I showed them who they can be if they wanted to.
Exactly.
I didn't
We
have anybody to help me.
we have to be the example. If we want our children to have a better life, we have to be the example. And sometimes it's hard doing it on your own. But
Yes,
when you can overcome it and you have enough, like when you have enough, only when you
yes,
have enough can you get out of it. Any viewers
yes,
that are out there watching now, or any viewers that will watch the replay, if you're in a domestic violence situation or any type of abuse of any sort, verbal, physically, mentally, sexually, until you have enough and you say no more, there's nothing anyone can do for you.
yes,
And
yes,
that's where the resilience comes from. You have to say, you know what, my life matters. I matter. My children matter. And I'm going to stop this. And
Yes.
then you say enough is enough. Whether
Yes.
people hate you or they're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. You're over exaggerating. You didn't live that life. So how dare you say that it wasn't that bad? And I really encourage people like you, Shirin, to keep spreading the message of
Yes.
hope and keep sharing
Absolutely.
that message. And I really love the North Star because I'm a Northern girl. So of course I love the Northern Stars. We have the Northern Lights. I'm like,
Yes.
I I am an old country girl, and I live in the city now, but I'm a country girl. And I
Mm,
really want to get into, before we wrap up your tea, I don't want to I don't want to close your tea time up because I really think that this is an important subject that needs to be shared. But we do have
right.
a time frame. So I want to get into, what is your tea, Shireen? And what makes you? So if I give you the word tea, give me a
Yes.
word for each letter. So the T, the E, and the A. And what makes you?
Ooh. All right. That's interesting. Um, so TEA would be take every action.
Oh, I love it. I love it because you know what? You just served me your past, your present, and your future. Take, as a child, you took. You were the rebel. You were the rebel. So you
Yes.
took. You took chances everywhere you went.
Yes.
Your E word is everything, right?
Yes.
Everything. So you're present. So you're doing a lot of things. You're doing everything right now. So maybe that's
Yes.
what your present is. And action, of course. In the future, action I see coming from you because you are a woman who makes action. You're not a
Yes.
woman that just talks, you actually do the walk. This
Yes.
woman, I'm telling you, check out her link tree, check out her websites. I You don't get enough in an hour of one person. So really connect and network with Shireen because this woman has overcome a lot. And she truly inspires me when I read what you've overcome and what you've went through. As a woman who has overcome domestic violence myself, your story inspires me to continue on and to do what I do as well. So I really want to thank you for that, Shireen. And I want to thank you for sharing your tea with us. So take every action. I love it. Like,
Thank you.
take everything, just take it and change it. We are the women that can change it. We are the voices that can change it because we lived it, we felt it, and we overcame it.
Yes.
So if you had a message to give to all the viewers right now out there, Shireen, what would the message be for you?
Be your own North Star.
I love it. And any of the young girls that are out there, the child girls, for
Yes.
education, what message would you have for them?
You know, you are a powerful being because you are the point of creation. The womb is in a girl child. There's nothing more powerful than that. That is the point of creation. You can so you that is your power. The womb is your power. You can create whatever you want from your life. You can create, choose and create, choose and create. And that's what I meant. Even there's another spin to take every action. You know, there were actions I took that didn't work the right way, but I still took them. Unless you take an action, you how are you going to know what's working and what's not working for you? And then through trial and error, you will see. You will see your way. But if you don't take any action, there's not going to be any results.
Exactly. You got to take the action in order to get the result.
Yes. And,
And
don't be in your head. Don't keep beating yourself. What if it doesn't work? What if it works? If it doesn't
exactly.
work, you'll take another action. Okay, now you know what doesn't work. So you'll try something different. You won't try the same thing. So one thing less to do, try something else. And there's one more thing I'd like to say. Not only did I become present to the impact on my children, so I leave a legacy of resilience and empowerment for them, then I didn't stop there because what I discovered and share, I shared my story with a very close friend. I made a close friend eventually, and I shared it with her. And I was shocked to know she was born here, Canadian, and she went through abuse in her life. And then I spoke to one more person. This is before I wrote the book. And then another, and I heard from them how what they were dealing with. And I realized that I'm not alone. I thought I was the only one. Something like this doesn't happen in Canada. He said, because my man was from India, so he did this here. But no, this is a universal thing. Women are
Yes,
being treated badly in their homes. And sometimes it's not just the men treating the women badly, it's the women treating the women badly too.
exactly.
And there is a chapter in my book called Raising Abuse, because sometimes we as mothers raise abuse. And how do we do that? We don't have to teach our son to beat someone up or abuse someone, but we take abuse
Yep.
and show them that's the right way. Because I have faced a lot of criticism from my in-laws who've said that, their mother was abused by their father, who was beaten up, but she was such a great woman. She was a saint, an angel, because she never divorced him. She put up with everything. So I am the bad woman in their eyes because I left my husband and I stood up against abuse. And it doesn't matter to me. I have nothing against them. But I am so complete with the decision I've made, with the choice that I've made, that I don't regret it. And then when I started speaking to a couple of friends and when they started sharing what they're going through, I said, no, I got to do something about it. I got to share this with more people, that I stood my ground. I didn't fight this man. I walked away. I could have been aggressive, and I when I took the divorce, it was not with the intention of fighting him and bringing him down.
Yeah.
I wanted to set myself free.
Well, and
So
we have to do that as women. We have to set
yes,
ourselves free, and
yes,
we have to be our own North Star. We have to
yes,
show that we matter, and we don't need a relationship to make us who we are. We don't need
yes,
children to make us who we are. We are important and we matter as individuals, as a
yes,
woman. And
yes,
this is, and I really like that you brought up that men to women abuse men. Yes, they do.
yes,
And the cycles, and us women taking abuse and showing our sons that this is the way that a man treats a woman is exactly what you said. So they grow up to be abusers because that's all they know. Because, well,
yes,
daddy beat mom for 20 years, so let's just beat my girlfriend for 20 years.
yes.
It's a cycle, it's a pattern.
And
And
my daughter would think that's normal, so she would take a beating from someone else. And I didn't want that for them, you know. So it was important for me to flip the script in my family. And that's how it all started, and it started spreading. Like, the more people shared their stories with me that they were going through this, I didn't choose to become a resilience coach. It came naturally,
yep. It
you
came from
know.
your life story. It came from
Yes,
you overcoming. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. The word resilient, it means overcoming. It means continuing on, staying strong, believing in yourself, believing in your
yes,
own North Star. And that's what I get when I read your bio, when I read your book, when I read everything that you've done, like the story and the show that you were on, the program, everything that you have done is
yes,
overcoming. You were scared, but you did it. And that's what we have to
yes,
do as women. Even when we're scared, just get out there and do it. And people are
yes,
going to judge you either way. So why not do something that's going to make you happy?
yes. You have to be okay with yourself, in the end, because no matter what you do in life, there will be someone who's not going to be happy. And
Exactly.
we're not here in this planet to live a precious life, a whole lifetime, just pleasing everybody else. We're here to experience life fully. And, it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to not be liked.
Yeah.
You have to be complete inside. At the end of the day, now I'm on a journey where, like today, if I were to die or if I go to bed, I don't live in regret.
Yeah.
That is very important. So then, you're light as a person. You're light. You have no regrets. You're doing your life the way you're living your life by your your deadlines that you give yourself, your ultimatums, and not by other people's deadlines and
Exactly.
defaults. So that you that's a powerful way of being.
Well, you keep being a rebel because I like you as a rebel. Like anybody that wants to meet Shireen, please reach out to her on her platforms. She has a website. She has a website for Be Your Own North Star. Her link tree, I put it up in the comments while she was sharing her story. So please reach out. And it'll also be up when I upload it to the YouTube channel. So please reach out to Shireen. And I really want to thank you for being a voice for the
Thank
women
you.
out there, for the men out there as well. Because if the men out there are listening to the program now or later on the replay, understand that if you see your mom or your sister or your grandmother or any woman getting beaten, it is not the right way. It is not the right way to
Mm,
be a man at all. And if
right.
you see a woman beating a man, that is not the right way either. So we need to bring voice to that as well, because there are men out there that are being abused as well, because some women
Absolutely.
come from abused homes, so they just continue the abuse onto the man because that's all they know as well. So we need to start breaking the patterns and the cycles. And we really need to
Absolutely.
start bringing a voice to these topics and these subjects. So I really want to thank you for joining me today on Tea Time, Shireen. It was an honor to have you here, and we have some amazing comments coming in. I will share those with you because I've streamed in multiple places. But I do want to read this comment that came in uh, from Erica. Some people don't appreciate when a person can love themselves more than the abuse, and how hard it is to get to that point after the abuse. It is
Yes.
true because people don't want us to love ourselves because they're used to the broken us. So when we start shining, when we start showing that we're strong and resilient, and I'm going to get teary eyed because I am an abuse survivor, when we start standing up and sharing our voices and our stories, we actually change ourselves to become the person that we were meant to be, not the person that they broke us down to be. So I want to thank you, Erica, for sharing that comment. I want to thank you, Shireen. Thank you,
Thank
Tiffany.
you.
Thank you, NJ. Thank you to all the viewers out there who have tuned in. Thank you, Crystal. I see you all. I see all the comments coming in and that. And I really want to thank you today for joining me on Tea Time. And I will be back
Thank you.
tomorrow and I will be back the following day. So there's 3 tea times. Boom, 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 just like that, because that's the way I work. And then I will be on some other platforms. So I will not be on Tea Time, but I will be back on Tea Time on the 26th after that with an amazing special Tea Time where I'll have 9 authors coming in and sharing a
Wow.
book that's being released in November. So I really want you all to check that book out as well. So keep checking the Tea Times out. Keep checking out Miss Liz's Tea Times on YouTube. And if you any of the Tea Times resonate with you or any of the stories, please reach out to the guests. The guests have agreed to be all public and you can reach out to them. So many of them have
Yes.
projects and movements as well. So support those and let's just make a difference altogether. That's what I'm here for. I'm just here to serve the pot, and you guys are the cup of tea. So thank you. So take every
Thank you.
action
Thank you.
is Shireen's tea. And thank you so much for joining me today on Tea Time. And I will
Thank
see
you.
you guys all tomorrow afternoon at 4 p.m. for a second tea time this week with Morris Thaw for the Collaboration Training Academy. So we will talk about education. So
Wonderful.
I will see you all tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you for tuning in, and we will make a difference one cup of tea at a time.